Lovely, lovely, lovely people. A pleasant evening to everybody. All right, beautiful people. I was listening to something, a motion being posited by Everald Warmington, member of parliament there, Everald Warmington. And I thought it has credence to it. I think it is much food for thought. I'm not aware of the different parliamentarian or the orders, the standing orders, or the policies that governs what should happen, in parliament. I'm not a politician. I try to follow a little politics, and I don't have the requisite information really as it relates to, changing some of the policies as it were, and the orders. But he mentioned that people as young as 18 years of age should be allowed to join, the parliament, and, give off their services, his or her services, as well as those of matrilineal and patrilineal heritage, or their mother and their father are Jamaicans. They may not necessarily be born in Jamaica, but they're from Jamaican parentage and parents, that they should be allowed to be a part of the government, or the parliament, and that a particular subsection that he was reading should be made obsolete. I would want to agree in a sense with him. I do understand that it is imperative that we give our people a fair chance. Justice must prevail, and our locals need to get that fair chance in terms of who gets to be a part of parliament. He was talking about it is really foolhardy to hold on to this thing about if you have dual passports that you can't be a part of it. And I would want to agree, because it doesn't mean, that allegiance will be to the other country. How? And to be honest, he made a good point that way, because when there was a time when there was a saga where, people had dual citizenship. And the impression that was given is that how it was posited, I'm not saying that that was what was meant. It is as though you have you have allegiance to, let us say, for example, Jamaica being one, and the United States being another, and the way how it was posited is as though people are saying they would give more allegiance to the foreign country, the international country, as opposed to their own country, which would prove foolhardy and fruitless for us, because if they are paying taxes and doing everything to support the other country and minimal to ours, it makes no sense. And it is, that's a big judgment call to think that even if they have dual citizenship, why is it that the belief, of some is that they would give more allegiance to the foreign country than our local? So I'm with him where that is concerned, to be honest. I'd actually, if he never mentioned the thing about being as young as 18 years of age, I did not know. I figured, once you reach 18, you're an adult, you can be a part of it. You just can't be a part of parliament. So I didn't know that, 18 is still too young. I mean, an 18-year-old is still a child in a sense, young. You have some mature ones, yes, but I think it would be good exposure. A lot of do's and don'ts. Hopefully he or she will learn if they start young, if there is a passion and a zeal, for politics, and, there is no scope for corruption, so to speak, then I have no issue with them, making obsolete a particular subsection that he read. As I said, I don't know it, and allowing them at as young as 18 to participate, get a good exposure. I actually don't have a problem with that, and I don't really have a problem if your parents are Jamaican and you so happen to be born overseas, because unfortunately, it's not like the child made that decision. The parent may have done that for so many reasons. Maybe healthcare benefits, they got a job offer, so many things. It doesn't mean that the allegiance will not be to their home country. And they keep positing it as though if they have dual citizenship, that allegiance would be to the foreign country and not to Jamaica. I don't necessarily think so. Sometimes it's just that people financially found it easier to seek greener pastures or greener pasture elsewhere than their own country because of how things are. So with Warmington on that one, and we will see what will come of it, in terms of getting some of these things and getting rid of some of the archaic things, making them obsolete, and getting some fresh things and fresh ideas. I remember the Prime Minister had said, one of the things that he's trying to do in his cabinet is bring a lot of bright minds, creme de la creme minds, resplendent, opulent minds, that can create changes for the better for the country. And I'm with that. I think what is happening when I look at, when you go on social media and you read a lot of, especially in the comments section, you realize it seems as though you wonder if cats and rats are running around in the brains of many. It seemed to be very, decayed, for lack of a better word. Something is off. So it is important that those who are leading, would lead in a healthy fashion, in an effective and in an efficient way that will make the country great, and that we don't just thrust who we like, our aunties or uncles or whatever it is, and make nepotism be the order of the day because this is my auntie, my uncle, my friend, and so on. But those with the skills set, and not just skill set, it is imperative that they are pliable, meaning that they're teachable. They can be molded into becoming great and to do the right things. And being pliable it has its positive and its negative, because you don't want a case where they're molded into doing something bad. You understand? So yeah, so it is important that we look at it's being teachable, but knowing when to hold, knowing when to fold, knowing when to walk, knowing when to run, knowing when to say no, knowing when to say yes, sort of situation. So so as I said, I'm with Minister Warmington on that. I have no issues where that is concerned, as long as our locals are not left behind and we pick up the scraps, meaning they put all the foreign people, whether your parents are Jamaican and you are not. Sometimes it can seem as though we put the foreigners above us. It comes across like that sometimes. So, we have to be very careful, because other countries do not do that. They don't, especially in good jobs. They give their people the fair advantage first. And then if they don't want it, then somebody has to do it, Anyway, guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of those lions. Thank you.